Hi everyone, Dr. Victoria Scarbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. And today I thought we could look at the month of October through the lens of numerology, Kabbalah, and astrology. And there's a couple of interesting things going on right now that we are moving into a different vibration for the month of October. And the first thing I want to do is give us the numerology, and we have the 10th month. Let's see if you can see this here. I believe you can see this. Oops, maybe not so good. Yeah, well, okay, this is mostly for me anyway. You can just listen. You don't have to hurt your eyes to try to see this. But so we have the 10th month, of course, and the 12 of the universal vibration. Remember, we are in a hanged man year, and so we are staying connected to source. We are looking at things from a different perspective. We are figuring out what we can change and changing it, what we have the power to change and change it, and what we don't have the power to change, to let it go, to release it, to understand that perhaps it is part of a bigger cycle and for reasons beyond our comprehension. And so that is in part, there's a sense of being in limbo. There's a sense of not really being able to accomplish anything. However, there's a lot of internal work that is being done in 2019. As we move into 2020, the vibration shifts and changes. And so we're still in the 12 vibration. So there's still that sense of having to look at things from a different perspective. There's still that sense of not quite ready to sort of get off the tree, so to speak, or get, stop hanging about, I guess. So we have the picture of the Rider-Waite Fool here. The Fool is the 22. It's the zero card, but it is also 22. In the tarot, the Fool is the beginning and the end, and the beginning and the end are the same. And here we have the card in the Illuminati deck. It's very similar. We have the little white dog, and we have the man with his. He's a little bit more beautifully dressed. That's this deck, with the sun is actually behind him, and so this is a symbol. This is a symbol of taking a leap of faith. It is associated with the planet Uranus, and so we have to look to see if there's anything happening this month. Particularly with the planet Uranus. The Fool card is about that leap of faith. The Fool card is about going in a new direction, a direction that we haven't gone. It can be foolhardy, it can be foolishness, but it's mainly, in my estimation, when we're looking at it as an energy for us to work with, it really is about taking that leap of faith, having understanding that you will be supported through the changes that are presently upon us, and the energy shift that we're going to be we're in the middle of. I want to show you this the Kabbalah of all of this and point something out. And this kind of looks like a mess. However, since April of 2019, we have been working in the lower part of the tree. The lower part of the tree is our lower nature. We have the solar plexus chakra, we have the sacral chakra, which isn't written in here, we have the root chakra. So since April, we have been working in the lower part of the tree, and the lower part of the tree deals with our manifested world, our interaction with the earth, as spiritual beings sort of coming in to the earth when we come together, when our spirit, our spiritual nature moves into our bodily nature, or our lower nature, as it's called. Not because it is lower in vibration. There's more density, right? We come into this lifetime. The three lower chakras are created, and so it is really about those three lower chakras, or how do we function within the world. And so a lot of what we've been seeing since April have been very worldly matters. Now, when we move into the 22 vibration, we actually are moving up to the top of the tree once again. The last time we were in this 22 vibration for a monthly vibration was last November. Okay, so we're in this 22 vibration, and the 22 path, the path where we have the Fool, connects Kether, which is the crown, to Chokmah, which is wisdom. This is the unity consciousness. This is genderless divinity. As it moves down through this path, we come to the masculine, okay, the divine masculine, and then we will come to the next Sephiroth, which is the divine feminine. This is force and this is form. This is putting yourself out there. This is yang force and this is yin force. And this whole top of the tree is a supernal triangle. It is the spiritual. It is beyond the physical. It is beyond even what we're aware of. And so the 22 vibration, the Fool vibration, as much as it is a leap of faith, it's also an opportunity for us to be downloaded with new information, as if we have our marching orders, so to speak, from Spirit with this energy. And I feel as though this particular month especially is going to have a lot of consequence in 2020. The month vibrates to a 4. The year of 2020 vibrates to to a 4 as well, right? But a plain 4, just 4, not 22 4. And so there's a connection there. And I also feel like the last 3 months of this year are a culmination of much of what we have come to understand about ourselves through this period of the Hanged Man. And it's helping us to formulate our action plan as we move into 2020, which is going to be a year of building. 4 is a building vibration. The 22-4 is master spiritual builder. And so this master spiritual builder, it's like we're getting the plans now. Okay? All right. So let's look at Uranus here, because there are a couple of things happening with Uranus that are significant. And there are 3 major aspects to Uranus. Now we have to remember Uranus is in Taurus now. And I was going to hang that up, but I can't. Uranus is in Taurus now. So as planets move into Scorpio, we're going to be having oppositions. And so, and we also have Mars now in Libra, and Mars is also going to make an aspect. So we have aspects made to Uranus by first Mercury, then Venus, Mars, and then the Sun. And so all of the and then of course the Moon, as it moves through all of the signs, is going to have some correlation and at some point of contact with Uranus, as it does every month. But because this is a Uranian month, we might find that those are particularly poignant for us. And so let's start with the first aspect that's happening to Uranus, and that's an opposition to Mercury. The interesting thing about Uranus and Mercury is that Uranus is a higher octave of Mercury. And so Mercury really is our logical mind. It's sort of our lower mind. It's how we contrast, compare and contrast. It's how we categorize information. There's a thing in the Bible that says, God put man in charge of naming all things. That ability to name things is really that energy of Mercury. And Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, meaning that it vibrates at a higher level, and it is outside of the purvey of Saturn. Saturn in the solar system is the limit. It's third dimensional. It's time. It's and everything within the orbit of Saturn is ruled by Saturn. Uranus is outside of the orbit of Saturn, and Uranus's function is to open us up to a more galactic consciousness, to wake us up to the fact that our physical environment is not the only thing that we are connected to. We are connected to things greater and higher. And so with Uranus being active this month especially, and with the personal planets this month, it becomes a very personal experience. So we can have a lot of personal realizations, personal awakenings. Mercury is about the mind, so it initially the awakening comes through the mind, comes through the ability to go, oh, those aha moments. Now the cycle between Mercury and Uranus is about a year-long cycle, and the initial conjunction occurred in Taurus, and that conjunction, because Uranus is in Taurus, the slower moving planet, and so it really is about a whole new value system, right? Uranus and Taurus, a whole new relationship with the earth, Uranus and Taurus, a whole new relationship with our resources and our resourcefulness and our natural resources, Uranus and Taurus, not to mention a lot of earth changes and climate change and stuff, because we're talking about Gaia here. We're talking about the organism of the earth going through an awakening. So Gaia herself is going through awakening as we move through Taurus. The initial conjunction for Mercury and Taurus was at 4 degrees of Taurus. And the symbol for 4 degrees of Taurus is a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. And I will read it to you. Says the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, riches that come from linking the celestial and our earthly natures. So what is that talking about? Our celestial and earthly natures. Our celestial nature is up here. Our earthly nature is down here. They all come together within the heart chakra, within Tiphereth. And so this is about a communion of our higher and our lower selves together within the heart chakra. Okay. So we have an awareness now with Mercury opposite Uranus. We have an awareness of what was seated at that time. It was, I believe it was in May when those two planets came together at 4 degrees of Taurus. And so we're halfway through the cycle. We're halfway through. The opposition is the halfway point of the cycle. And this is when we have an awareness about what was planted at that time. So something comes into our awareness from the higher self, And this is sort of the energy of, and the higher mind. This is the energy that's surrounding us. If you happen to have a planet at any of these degrees, at 4 degrees of Taurus, or in the case of the opposition between Uranus and Mercury, 6 degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, or Leo, or incidentally, the United States North Node and South Node are at about 7 degrees of South Node in Aquarius, North Node in Leo. And so this opposition of Mercury and Uranus are making a square to the nodes of the moon of the United States. And so we can see transformational changes in a time of change and a time of choice, because squares always require us to take an action or to change something, whether it be our actions that we're changing or our mind. Okay, so there's always action. Now we also have Venus making an opposition, and Venus and Mercury are very close together. They made a conjunction, I think it was last month, and they've been moving along together. Mercury ahead of Venus, because Mercury is closer to the sun, so it moves a little bit faster. But now Mercury is starting to slow down, because at the end of the month, the last day of the month, in fact, Mercury goes retrograde in Scorpio, right around the 28th degree of Scorpio. So that's another conversation for another month. But needless to say, there's going to be a lot of deep pondering over the next couple of months. All right, so we have this opposition between Venus and Uranus. This is halfway within that cycle. Venus and Uranus. Venus is what we value, what's important to us. Uranus is awakening to maybe a new value, a new relationship, a new realization when it comes to our relationships, not only to others, Venus, but to ourselves, Venus. And the fact that that Uranus is actually in the Venus ruled sign, that whole reestablishment of our values within our relationships to self and others is a longer process that's sort of going along in the background. At some point, we're going to have to learn how to relate better, and perhaps this is, and the best way to relate to somebody else is to first figure out your own self and the things that trigger you, and get. It may seem like somewhat of a selfish endeavor, but if you don't know yourself, it's really hard to be in a relationship with another person. Although generally relationships with another person will reflect back those things you need to see in yourself. So one way or another, you get the idea and you get the picture. It's just whether you're going to claim it to be you or if you're going to project it onto others. And that projection part is, I think, where we get in trouble, because ultimately we are responsible for ourselves. And Saturn in Capricorn and Pluto in Capricorn are requiring us to do just that, be responsible for ourselves. Okay, we also have an inconjunct between Mars and Uranus. Now, the inconjunct is a Virgo side inconjunct, so it has more to do with changing our mind about things. Uranus is the higher mind. Mars is our ability to take action, and our actions need to be. We need to make some adjustments in the way that we are moving towards and coming to terms with how we act within relationships, in relationship to this awakening. We're not quite ready to put our action Mars out there. Actually, the opposition to Mars and Uranus is going to happen in November, and so we will see that particular action come to fruition. But at this time, we're still working underground. So our what actions we're going to take aren't as clear as the idea that we have to take an action. So there's still some adjustments that need to be made. And then at the end of the month, the Sun makes an opposition to Uranus. Now, the Sun opposite Uranus is happening the day before the new moon in Scorpio. The new moon in Scorpio this month is at the end of the month. It's on the, hold on, I want to say the 28th, the 27th, I think. 1 second. Yeah, at the end of the month, we have a new moon in Scorpio at 5 degrees of Scorpio, and it is exactly opposite Uranus. And so, this is a really intense awakening experience. We are, and the thing is with the Fool and Uranus and these awakening experiences, and because we're dealing with Uranus, it can feel like the rug is getting pulled down from under you. Now, we're all going to have these little sort of maybe mini awakenings around these issues, the issue of what we think, the issue of who we relate to and how we feel, the issues around identity and how we move forward through this period of time, and then ultimately our issues around how to move forward, Mars, right? So we are at a point where I believe we are starting to create the action steps or the plan for us to. We had enough, to a certain extent, enough of this is all like I'm sorry. It's almost like the planning stage. It's very hard to talk about these energies, especially Uranus. Well, all the transpersonal energies are hard to talk about. Probably the easiest one, I think, is Pluto, in a strange sort of way, because it's emotions and it's deep and it's, but Uranus is so like out of the box and like comes on you suddenly. You never really know what to expect. So we even talk about what it's going to mean. You'll probably be, if you even think you figured it out, usually it's going to figure you out in a way. And then Neptune is always a challenge. That's the other transpersonal. So I'm trying to find language for things that might not necessarily have language to them. So I apologize if I'm not being clear enough with this. Okay, so a couple of other things are happening. Pluto is changing direction. It stations direct on the 2nd or the 3rd. I think it's the 3rd of October. And that happens on the 1st of October. We have a square between Venus and Pluto, and it's a last quarter crisis and consciousness square. It's about questioning authority and our own values and our need to be authorities in our own life. And we're dealing with Venus, so it's relationships. Scorpio, so it can be passion and compulsion. So there's a lot of very intense energy right at the beginning of the month, and that's not the Uranus. We have the Uranus sort of overlay for the whole month, and then on Thursday, 2 days later, Pluto stations direct. So when Venus makes that square to Pluto, it's actually stationed. And when the transpersonal, the outer planets, change direction, they create a lot of energy. Oftentimes, we'll see different things happen in the outer world when these transpersonal planets change direction. So keep your eyes open for that. I feel as though there's going to be a lot of maybe, if not weather-related, earth-related things going on in one way or another that are going to bring to our attention to the fact that we have to do things in a completely different way. We have to have a better relationship with the earth. We have to have a better relationship with each other. This is our time to move towards life and move away from death. Move away from the old ways of doing things. Okay. We also have a full moon, of course. We had the new moon in Libra at the end of September, and we do have a full moon on the 13th. And it's a very powerful full moon. It happens, the sun is at 21 degrees of Libra. The moon is at 21 degrees of Aries. And it's exactly square Pluto at 21 degrees. So we have a full moon with Pluto squaring both the sun and the moon. The full moon brings awareness around our relationships to self and others. Pluto is our relationship to power, our own power, our sense of disempowerment. But because we're dealing with a T-square, it's about change. And because we're dealing with cardinal sign, it's about initiation. So there's a lot of energy for change and initiation. And initiation simply means we're initiated into something new. And that's what this card is all about. It's all about the new. So that being said, there's a lot of other things happening. If you watch my videos every day, I'll talk about the daily stuff and maybe some larger things that are happening. But this really is a time when we are being awakened to the possibility of who we can become. And so we need to stay open while trying to keep our balance through this. But we have to remember we are still in that hanged man. And so we don't quite have our feet on the ground, but pay attention because there's information coming in. Things that have been seeded are coming to fruition, and when we can see what they are, when we have a better idea of what we have in front of us, then we can start to take the necessary actions to work on those realizations and on those illuminations. So have yourself a great day. Like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this. And I'm going to try to get a couple of more card readings done. I've been quite busy with life. And so I'm trying to do everything I can for you guys. If you'd like a reading using Kabbalah and Astrology and numerology, contact me at my website, theseedsoftransformation.com, or you can just email me, Vicki, V-I-C-K-I, Skirbo, @gmail. I believe the information is on my channel. So have yourself a great month, and I will see you again soon. Bye.